and those who campaigned alongside them. Sort of no sort of criticism or reservations about the rest of Saville's report can change that or subtract from it in any way. The day of the publication of the Saville report was but literally one of the greatest days of my life. I mean, I had feelings sort of on that day that I don't think I've ever experienced before, and which I still don't fully understand. And everybody had that feeling, particularly inside the Guild Club. And now and then, as I say, about an hour and a half before a report was officially published, naturally, although I had every expectation of what it was going to say, certain confidence in what it was going to say, I really wanted that confirmed. So when some of us would then be sprinted up the stairs of the Guild Hall into the main hall where the families had gathered, so when I went into the hall, you didn't have to ask anybody. You know, sort of, is it as good sort of as we hoped it was going to be from the family's point of view? When you walked into the hall, all you could see was people weeping, smiling, and a frenzy of hugs, which we were engulfed as soon as we went into the hall. And it was obvious that this wasn't just sort of a political moment, this was an emotional moment, a moment of mass and communal emotion for everybody involved and everybody who was present. So although we were confident in the end of what the report was going to say, and the reason why we were confident is that it just wasn't possible for Saville to arrive at any other conclusion. It simply was not possible. When you read the evidence, and I sat through it almost every day, sort of on the tribunal hearings, both in Derry and in London. And the reason why Saville found what he did is that he and these two fellow judges were compelled to find that on the basis of the evidence. But despite that, it had been a long, hard struggle. Been a long, hard struggle for, Jan said, for 38 years. And in the beginning, although now sort of the government in the South and respectable politicians and the entire media in Britain and Ireland sang from the same hymn sheet in perfect harmony, welcoming the Saville report. It wasn't always like that in relation to Bloody Sunday. I can remember going to Dublin by 1990, I suppose, with a delegation from the families, and we were going down to launch a book, part of our propaganda effort. It was called Bloody Sunday in Derry, What Really Happened. And we launched the book in Dublin. It was called Boswell's Hotel, which is just across the street, across Kildare Street from that's their house, from the Parliament of Dublin. And we invited, I think we were about 30 or 35 members of the Dublin Parliament to come and attend the launch of the book, to give it a bit of a propaganda boost and to try to make sure that it got into some of the Dublin newspapers. Only one PD turned up. He was an independent, the late Tony Gregory. Not a single member of a major party turned up. Around the same time, the families, again, just campaigning and trying to get publicity and trying to get backing, trying to mainstream the issue, the need for the truth about Bloody Sunday. The previous president, feisty, independent-minded feminist Mary Robinson, twice refused point blank to meet the Bloody Sunday families. She was tainted with pro-votism. Twice refused to meet them. She only, in the end, did meet them very briefly after a number of family members went down with placards and walked up and down for an afternoon outside her residence, or as they looked around in the Phoenix Park, demanding that she meet them. Then, a week after that, out of embarrassment, she agreed to meet them. The Catholic Primate of Ireland, Cardinal Daly, never met the Bloody Sunday family, refused over and over again to have a meeting with them. Even after the former Bishop of Derry, Eddie Daly, who's a priest in that, would say, iconic picture sort of coming out of the bauxite with the body of Jackie Tully. Even after his intervention, the Cardinal wouldn't meet them. Not that I want to meet Cardinals anytime about anything. I mean, I could live without ever meeting Cardinals, you know, but it just nevertheless was interesting, so that he wouldn't actually meet the Bloody Sunday families. So the idea that this was always a sort of a mass campaign supported by the mainstream is simply not true. So we were scorned and rejected, and also told over and over again that what the campaign was demanding was simply impossible, which on the face of it was. Because there, of course, had been a previous inquiry under the Tribunals of Evidence Act, which was a 1921 Act, the basis for all sorts of inquiries. There had been a previous inquiry, of course, under Lord Witchery back in 1972. He produced a report within 11 weeks of the event. You know, it was, I think, about 40 pages long. I forget exactly, you could certainly read it in about an hour. He sat down, of course, he found that all the soldiers were innocent and that the dead had nobody to blame but themselves because they had been rioters and gunmen and nail bombers and down away the march was illegal and they shouldn't have been there in the first place. So the fact that Witchery had found that, and that finding had been accepted back in 1972 by the British Parliament, that meant that the official truth was set in stone. So on the face of it was simply impossible for us to get a second inquiry. So the winning of the inquiry, despite that, when Blair had to set aside all constitutional precedent and indeed constitutional rationality and appoint the second inquiry. It was at that moment that suddenly the Bloody Sunday cause became very popular. You know, there still were some criticisms of it, of course, a lot of criticisms of the length and the cost of the inquiry. I'll just say a little bit about that. You know, sort of, why did Saville take so long? Why did he hear almost 1,000 witnesses? And the reason why you had to hear other witnesses, and the reason why the inquiry took so long, was very simple. It's because there were so many witnesses. Bloody Sunday was different from all the other atrocities that pockmark the history of 40 years of conflict in the North, in that it didn't happen on a lonely road in the dead of night. This wasn't a few people erupting into a pub, sort of unexpectedly, sort of massacring people and leaving immediately and fleeing the scene. Bloody Sunday was an atrocity which was played out over 8, 9, 10 minutes, sort of in broad daylight on a crisp winter's afternoon in a built-up area where, because it was the culmination of the Civil Rights March, there were literally thousands of people in the vicinity. Every shooting and wounding of Bloody Sunday was witnessed by scores of people, some of them at very close quarters indeed. They all had stories to tell, and they had to be allowed to give evidence. In other words, the main reason the inquiry took so long and therefore cost so much, the main reason, there were some others, the main reason had to do with the brazenness of the atrocity. The fact that these people were killing unarmed civilians, shooting them in the back in broad daylight, without a thought to who might see them, without a thought to what the consequences might be. See, and this is something which is not included in the Saville report. It's the point that I'm making. The brazenness of the atrocity is not included. Because had the brazenness of this been included in the report, and Saville found that and commented upon it, I don't think it would have been possible for David Cameron to make the speech that he did in the House of Commons. What is more, had Saville not confined guilt and responsibility for Bloody Sunday to a very small number of people, it wouldn't have been possible for Cameron to make the speech and the comments that he made. And for this reason, if you look at the evidence, as I've done sort of over and over again, sort of thing, I can bore people for hours with the evidence to the Bloody Sunday. I shouldn't, I assure you. I try not to, but I could. If you read, when you get into the guts of a Saville report, you find a number of very interesting things. You see, Saville finds that nobody apart from one platoon of the 1st Battalion of the Parachute Regiment, they're all privates and corporals, and one brigade commander of the 1st Battalion of the Parachute, Lieutenant Colonel Derek Wolfer, they were the guilty men, according to Saville. Now this didn't matter, I'm not subtracting from the joy of the families in which I shared. I'm not suggesting for a moment that ought to have been tinged with any reservation. The point I've been making, sir, is that when you look at the report closely, what it does is insulate the British Army itself, and indeed the Parachute Regiment itself, and certainly the British government and British civil servants and the entire British establishment. It insulates all of them from any blame for Bloody Sunday. And I don't think that's really sustainable on the basis of the evidence, indeed on the basis of common sense. So I could select just a couple of people who might have been, there are others, who might have been, they're burdened with some responsibility for Bloody Sunday. You take Major General Robert Ford,